Welcome to the November 2022 Bead-along for French beaded willow. Stay tuned. Hi everyone, my name is Fan Lee, bead instructor here at the Bead Flora studio. In this month's Bead-along, I will be showing you how to make French beaded willow branches. Willow branches are a versatile filler. The leaf shape for many varieties of willow leaves are the same. Leaf colors can vary from light to dark green, and stems can range from mustard yellow, light green, red, and even gray. This is a beginner project, but you do need to know French beading terminology. I will put a link in the description for some free PDFs and videos to get you started. And as always, the link to the materials and tool list is in the description. For this French beaded willow project, we'll be using two colors. For the main color, we'll be using transparent emerald green. And for shading, we'll be using matte peacock. For the main body of the leaves, we'll be using a bead mix of both of these colors. And for the shading, we'll be using the matte peacock green. I'll be using a scale to do the bead mix so that you can see the proportions. So here, this light green we'll call color A, and this matte peacock green we'll call color B. And to make the bead mix, I'll be using a scale just so that you can see the proportions, so you can get a good idea of what I have. But you don't necessarily need a scale. It's just, you can be a little bit heavy-handed or not. It just depends on what you like. So I already have 20 grams of the beads on here, so I'm just going to tar this here to 0 grams. And I'm just going to take just a little bit of the beads here, and I'm just going to sprinkle on top. And that was about 2 grams of the beads there. So that was 2 grams of color B to 20 grams of color A. So, but I could use more or less. So for this project, these are the leaves that we will be making: leaf A, B, C, and D. So here I have the bead mix, and I'm going to string about 7 to 15 inches of beads onto the spool, depending on the size of the leaf we're making. So I'm just going to string a bunch on here. So for leaf A, we will need a 20 bead basic. So we're going to count out 20 beads for the basic frame here. We're going to need about 2 inches for the top basic wire and about 2.5 inches for the twisted wire and loop. I'm just eyeballing it. A little less or more won't hurt. All right, let's straighten this out here. So first we're going to make our pointed top and pointed top bottom. And I normally like to prepare my lacing wire. I didn't do it this time. So I'm going to take our 30 gauge wire and cut about 2.5 inches for the lacing wire here. All right, so we're going to lace along the middle here. It's a little below the middle, but that's okay. All right, so we have that laced. Let's undo the top basic wire. And let's put on 5 beads onto the top basic wire. Okay. And now we're going to cut out 5 inches of wire off of the spool. So from here to here. I'm going to cut 5 inches off. So now we're going to string on more of color A up to this point here. So just about 2 beads below the top of the pointed top over here. I'm just going to lace this part in first. Be careful not to spill those beads there. I'm just living dangerously by not making a loop there. All right, so I'm going to remove the excess beads. So this is where I want to start my shading with color B. All right, so I have color B in this quick change tray. All right, make sure you pinch the sides in and make the pointed top over here. So I have a lot of excess beads right here. I'm going to remove all of these beads because I want to put one of color A just at the top, just to make it interesting or hard, whichever one. If you choose not to do that, if you just want to do all of color B, that's perfectly fine too. So I have one of color A at the tip. And now I'm going to do color B. Okay, so let's line this up. And I want to have this row here. This is row 5, mirror row 4 right here. So I'm just going to do it maybe around here. So let's see how many beads that is. 5. So that's about 11 beads. So let's pinch this in. Now I'm going to string on color A for the remainder. Just going to lace this in before I get the rest of color A on there. All right. Spilling beads. That's what I do best. I've been spilling a lot of beads lately. Something is up. All right, so I'm just going to twist this here just a little bit. And I don't need this much twisted wire. I'm just going to cut right here. So that's a little too long. Okay, so I have one wire here and one wire here. So that's 2 bottom wires. I'm just going to straighten this out a little bit. I just want to have about this much of a twisted wire, just so that when I assemble it, there's some sort of stability. Okay, so that looks good. All right, let's cut this here. And for these leaves, I do want to lace along the top here. And I don't want to do that until I have about, 6 or 7, so I can do it all in one go. Now I'm going to work on leaf B, and I'm going to be prepared this time and cut out 2 lacing wires first. So 2.5 inches of the 30 gauge wire, and set that aside. Okay. All right, so I still have a bunch of beads on here on this spool. So 20 bead basic. And again, we're doing pointed top, pointed bottoms. Now for this one, we want to do 2 lacing wires, more towards the upper middle and along the bottom. So I'm going to bend this. It went way up just a little bit. It's not towards the middle anymore. That's where my wire went, and I'm just going along with it. It's fine. Okay, and I'm going to have it right along the bottom here. So this kind of got loose a little bit, which is fine. I'll just undo it and rewrap it. That happens. Jiggle it, straighten it out. Let's make our row. Okay. Now next we're going to need to cut out for 11 inches of the wire off of the spool. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to line up the beads on here so I don't have to string on more beads. You can go either way. Cut off bare wire or line this up here and then, but include this into your 11 inches, right? So however you want to do it. Now, if I do that, I do want to knot the end there. Now undo the knot for the top basic wire and string 5 beads on there. Okay. I'm going to lace this in first. So you know the drill. We're going to finish the leaf just like we did with leaf A. So here we have 5 rows. We're on to row 6 and 7. So let's undo the top basic wire here and put on 5 beads for the 5 bead addition. 5. All right, redo the knot. See, lots of beads spilling everywhere. We're going to string on more of color A up to about this point here. So that's about 2 beads below color B from the previous row. So around here. It could be 1, it could be 2, that's completely up to you. All right, so if it looks good, it's fine. You don't have to like have it exactly at 2, right? Okay, I'm gonna lace this twice here because it's the last row here on this side. Okay, so now I'm going to undo the knot and finish row 6 with color B. Okay, I'm going to remove the excess here. If you don't want to do that one bead, you don't have to, and just continue. I don't think it really makes a difference. But you know, whatever. You do you. Okay, so line this up here. So with this last row, you can end it wherever you want. Just make sure that it's not right next to the color B from the previous row. It could be a little bit higher, it could be a little bit lower. So for this, I'm just going to go a little bit higher. So it's about 2 beads above color B from the previous row. All right, and I'm going to string on more of color A. Okay. Lace this in. It's just a lot easier. Actually, I should lace twice. I'll go back to this one. All right, so I just need about 1 more bead. I'm going to take one of these here. Okay. And twist. About 1/8 inch or so. Okay. And I'm going to cut right here. So we have 1 bottom wire, 2 bottom, well, 3 actually, but you know who's counting, it's fine. All right, so now we have leaf B. Uh-oh, I didn't go back to do that lacing thing. Will it be fine? We'll find out. We should really do that last row twice, right? So I hope it'll be fine. We just finished leaf A and B, and we also have leaf C and D to make. So you would follow the directions for leaf B, but starting out with a 30 bead basic for leaf C and a 40 bead basic for leaf D. So here I have 5 leaves. I'm going to take about 6 or 7 inches of 30 gauge wire. I'm just going to cut that off, and like I said before, I'm going to show you how to lace the tops of these leaves. So you just take this 1 wire here, and we're going to start lacing towards the top. We want to have all these laced, but doing lacing as you go, you would use too much of the lacing wire. And if you use too short of a lacing wire, it's harder for you to lace. But if you use a longer length of lacing wire, you're wasting a lot of lacing wire for just like around 3 rows of lacing. So that's why I like to just kind of take a few and do it all at once using 1 lacing wire. Right, so I have this done. So I'm going to trim this off. I'm going to take the same lacing wire and start lacing the next one. Oh, this one's laced, so I'm going to do this one. and then so on and so forth until all of these are laced. So that way it'll just go a lot faster. And that's how you lace several leaves in a short amount of time. In the next lesson, I will show you how to assemble the willow branches. If you like this project and would like to learn more about French beaded flowers, you may be interested in my 2 French beading books. My first book, Bead Flora, The Revival of French Beaded Flowers, will walk a beginner step by step on how to make bead and wire flowers. And my second book, Bead Flora, French Beaded Branches in Bloom. This book features realistic branching blooms changing through the seasons using some very interesting technique gymnastics. You can find signed copies on my website or at all major book retailers online.